mainstay of American agriculture, became a threat to a handful of corporate giants. To stifle the commercial threat that hemp posed to timber interests, William Randolph Hearst began referring to hemp in his newspapers by its Spanish name, marijuana. This did two things. It associated the plant with Mexicans and played on racist fears, and it misled the public into thinking that marijuana and hemp were different plants. Nobody was afraid of hemp. It had been cultivated and processed into usable goods and consumed as medicine and burned in oil lamps for hundreds of years. But after a campaign to discredit hemp in the Hearst newspapers, Americans became afraid of something called marijuana. By 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was passed, which marked the beginning of the end of the hemp industry. In 1938, Popular Mechanics ran an article about marijuana called New Billion-Dollar Crop. It was the first time the words billion-dollar were used to describe a U.S. agricultural product. Popular Mechanics said, and I'm quoting, "A machine has been invented which solves a problem more than 6,000 years old. The machine is designed to remove the fiber-bearing cortex from the rest of the stalk, making hemp fiber available for use without a prohibitive amount of human labor. Hemp is the standard fiber of the world. It has great tensile strength and durability. It is used to produce more than 5,000 textile products, ranging from rope to fine laces. And the woody herds remaining after the fiber has been removed contain more than 77% cellulose and can be used to produce more than 25,000 products, ranging from dynamite to cellophane." End of quote. Well, since the Popular Mechanics article appeared over half a century ago, many more applications have come to light. But back in 1935, more than 58,000 tons of marijuana seed were used just to make paint and varnish, all non-toxic, by the way. When marijuana was banned, these safe paints and varnishes were replaced by paints made with toxic petrochemicals. In the 1930s, no one knew about poisoned rivers or deadly landfills or children dying from chemicals in house paint. People did know something about hemp back then because the plant and its products were so common. All ships' lines were made from hemp, and much of the sail canvas. In fact, the word canvas is the Dutch pronunciation of the Greek word for hemp, cannabis. All ropes, hawsers, and lines aboard ship, all rigging, nets, flags, and pennants were also made from marijuana stalks, and so were all charts, logs, and Bibles. Today, many of these items are made in whole or in part with synthetic petrochemicals and wood. All oil lamps used to burn hemp seed oil until the whale oil edged it out of first place in the mid-19th century. And then, when all the whales were dead, lamp lights were fueled by petroleum and coal and recently radioactive energy. This may be hard to believe in the middle of a war on drugs, but the first law concerning marijuana in the colonies at Jamestown in 1619 ordered farmers to grow Indian hemp. Massachusetts passed a compulsory grow law in 1631. Connecticut followed in 1632. The Chesapeake colonies ordered their farmers by law to grow marijuana in the mid-18th century. Names like Hempstead or Hemp Hill dot the American landscape and reflect areas of intense marijuana cultivation. During World War II, domestic hemp production became crucial when the Japanese cut off Asian supplies to the U.S. American farmers, and even their sons who grew marijuana, were exempt from military duty during World War II. A 1942 U.S. Department of Agriculture film called Hemp for Victory extolled the agricultural might of marijuana and called for hundreds of thousands of acres to be planted. Despite a rather vigorous drug crackdown, 4-H clubs were asked by the government to grow marijuana for seed supply. Ironically, war plunged the government into a sober reality about marijuana, and that is that it's very valuable. In today's anti-drug climate, people don't want to hear about the commercial potential of marijuana. The reason is that the flowering top of a female hemp plant contains a drug. But from 1842 through the 1890s, a powerful concentrated extract of marijuana was the second most prescribed drug in the United States. In all that time, the medical literature didn't list any of the ill effects claimed by today's drug warriors. Today, there are anywhere from 25 to 30 million Americans who smoke marijuana regularly. As an industry, marijuana clears well more than $4 billion a year. Obviously, as an illegal business, none of that money goes to taxes. But the modern marijuana trade only sells one product, a drug. Hemp could be worth considerably more than $4 billion a year if it were legally supplying the 50,000 safe products that proponents claim it can. If hemp could supply the energy needs of the United States, its value would be inestimable. Now that the drug czar is in final retreat, America has an opportunity to, once and for all, say farewell to the Exxon Valdez, Saddam Hussein, and a prohibitively expensive brinkmanship in the desert sands of Saudi Arabia. This is Hugh Downs.
What you have just listened to are facts, not fiction. Nobody is going to get paid by sharing these viable solutions with you. The only benefactors are humanity and the planet. We live in one of the greatest nations of the world because our forefathers put forth a Declaration of Independence to free us from unfair taxation, tyranny, and oppression. But in the last 100 years, those freedoms are being slowly stripped away by unnecessary laws that benefit the rich and/or political agendas. Influential, wealthy opportunists have positioned themselves to control what information you and your kids are privy to. Only when you pick up a book and start to tinker outside the box of rules that are considered conventional do you find that many of these rules of science and laws are not always in our best interest. Energy products and systems remain in place so that the wealthy can continue to reap rewards from the masses no matter what the cost. Corporations spend billions of dollars a year supporting misinformation campaigns and continue buying off potential competitors and inventors. As an example, how many times have you heard of a revolutionary item in the news that could possibly threaten the established monopoly and never see these products ever come to market? Now, that is not to say that some inventions are not what they appear to be, but for every inventor that claimed to be able to revolutionize the automobile industry to be crazy or to never have their inventions come to market, you have to ask yourself why. There are many conspiracy theories about why gasoline has remained the fuel of choice for more than 100 years, and I assure you that as much as that may not be true about these theories, there is as much truth in them as well. If you doubt me, watch the documentary called Who Killed the Electric Car, and you'll see how every car manufacturer can produce an electric car when there is a demand set forth by governmental policy, and then remove them from the market just as quickly if that policy is repealed. This was not just GM making EV vehicles, but Toyota as well as others. Nobody puts GM and Toyota in the same category, and why would both be 100% cooperative and remove electric vehicles instead of capitalizing on an opportunity to be one of the only electric vehicles being sold here in the U.S. in 2003? Who really calls the shots? Celebrities were willing to pay any price for these expensive prototypes, but not one person could do so. Why were they destroyed? Did the oil companies give GM and Toyota millions of dollars apiece to collect and destroy them? From 2003 till likely 2010, you still will not be able to widely buy an electric vehicle here in the U.S., even though they obviously exist. Why? You can now buy them in other countries, but not here in the U.S. Our gas prices are increasing daily, yet there is no electric vehicle being sold that would only cost you $1 to $2 per every 150 miles driven. Is it clear? The market is 100% controlled. The choice is yours as to what kind of future you would like to have, but we need to start looking at the whole picture for solutions and not the one that makes financial sense. The world has agreed that global warming is a crisis that needs to be solved soon. We have the technology to fix it right now by growing our own carbon-based fuels and products from plant life, not getting them from crude oil. The U.S. government will not force any corporate change for more than 10 or 20 years. Why? Because you and I have not demanded it, and they will not make any changes until it is convenient for them to do so. We can have the luxuries of today while not polluting the world or starving others in order to do so. You, the consumer, can help shape the outcome by being conscious of what you are buying and making sure that you buy flex fuel vehicles. If you know that certain brands are from unethical companies or items are being made in sweatshops, don't buy them. Make your friends and family aware of these brands as well. The way you and I change things is with our buying dollar, spreading information and demanding change from the retail outlets and our politicians. What alcohol for fuel provides today is a solution that allows us to use our existing modes of transportation with very little expense to the consumer. In return, we can clean up the environment, create a new sustainable economy, and become the leaders of the world in innovation again. Yes, some of the most powerful entities in the world may be left out if they do not jump on board, but at least our government will not be making decisions to go to war over energy or oil again. Being a conscious nation is the future. Continuing our present unconscious, lazy path will be the fall of the U.S. economy. We still have a choice, people. The question is, what choice will you choose?